Story 1. For most of my life, I've been rational, skeptical, the kind of person who doesn't believe in ghosts or demons or cursed places. I believed in people, how they can lie, lose themselves, do terrible things to each other. But I never believed in the irrational. That changed the winter. I moved into the basement unit of a house on 11th Street in Baltimore. It was cheap. Too cheap, if I'm being honest. But I just lost my job and didn't have many choices. The ad said private garden-level studio, but it was a glorified dungeon. One window, half covered by shrubs, concrete walls, poor ventilation. But it was quiet, and I thought I could make it work. The owner, Mr. Keene, lived upstairs. He was polite, mid-60s, a little stiff. When I moved in, he gave me a single rule: don't go near the laundry room at night. I laughed, thinking he was joking. He didn't smile. It disturbs the other tenant, he added. I blinked. There's someone else in the house? He nodded. Lives in the sub-basement. Doesn't come out much. Health issues. The idea of someone living beneath me was unsettling, but I didn't question it. Not then. For the first week, everything was normal. I stayed quiet, kept to myself. But late at night, when the house went still, I'd hear faint tapping sounds coming through the floor. Sometimes a thud, sometimes a dragging sound, like furniture being moved. I assumed it was plumbing or the house settling. But by the second week, the sounds became rhythmic, not random, always around 2:30 a.m. Tap, tap, pause, tap, drag, like someone trying to signal from below. One night, unable to sleep, I pressed my ear to the floor. Beneath the concrete, I heard it. Breathing. Slow, heavy, almost wheezing. The next morning, I asked Mr. Keene about the other tenant. Should I be worried? They sound unwell. He looked at me, tired. They're not dangerous, just private. I should have left then. I should have packed up and moved into a motel, broken lease or not. But money was tight, and part of me thought I was imagining it. Stress, insomnia, basement acoustics. But things escalated. I began waking up with nosebleeds. Almost every night, I'd go to bed feeling fine, and by morning, I'd have blood crusted down my face, sometimes on my pillow, sometimes pooling on the floor. I went to a doctor, clean bill of health, no infection, no high blood pressure, no explanation. Then my food started going bad, quickly. Milk soured in 2 days. Bread grew moldy overnight. I blamed the cold, damp air, but I kept my fridge on max setting and even installed a dehumidifier. Nothing changed. At night, I started feeling watched. I'd be brushing my teeth, and I'd catch movement in the mirror, just behind me. A flicker, like a shadow ducking out of sight. One time I turned so fast, I knocked over my toothbrush holder. No one was there. I kept telling myself it was paranoia, that basements mess with your sense of space, of safety, that isolation can turn quiet into dread. But then I found the notes. The first one was under my door, just a torn piece of yellowed paper, 5 words, scrawled in blocky, uneven handwriting. "It hears when you sleep." I assumed it was some prank, maybe a bored neighbor. I left it on the kitchen counter and went about my day. But the second note came 2 nights later. Same paper, same blocky letters. This one said, "Don't trust the man upstairs." That one unsettled me more than I wanted to admit. I went upstairs and knocked on Mr. Keen's door. No answer. I rang the bell. Nothing. I finally heard him moving around an hour later, but he never came out. Then, something changed in the tapping. The pattern became more deliberate. I swear, it started mimicking me. If I stepped once, I'd hear a delayed tap from below. I clapped my hands, and something clapped back. Slower, distorted, like bone against wood. One night, I placed a glass of water on the floor above the spot where the breathing came from. At exactly 2:34 a.m., the glass trembled, then tipped. No tremor, no vibration in the rest of the room. Just that one spot. I slept with the lights on after that. Then came the third note. He feeds it what it wants. I moved out of my bedroom and started sleeping on the couch as far from the floor as possible. Every night, I'd hear whispering now. Not words, just breath, like someone murmuring through static. It would fade as soon as I sat up. I decided I couldn't stay. Lease or not, I was done. I started packing, but when I tried to open the front door, it wouldn't budge. The lock turned, but the door stayed sealed. I tried calling Mr. Keen. No answer. I went up to his door again. No lights on. No sound. That night, I saw something move through the slit beneath my front door. Just a shape, a hand, thin, elongated. It slid something under the door. Another note. Too late. It's hungry now. I pressed myself against the far wall. I kept every light on. I didn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., I heard footsteps above me. Slow, deliberate. Then dragging. Then silence. And then the smell. It started faint, like rotting meat. But it grew stronger, thick, metallic. I opened the window, but the smell was coming in, not going out. I waited until sunrise, then ran upstairs to Keen's unit. This time, the door creaked open with a push. The smell hit me like a wall. The inside was dark, every window covered with newspaper. There were bowls of dark, dried liquid in the corners. Bones, small, maybe animal, scattered across the floor. And in the center of the room was a hatch, open. I shouldn't have, but I looked. It was a narrow tunnel that led deeper underground. The walls were damp, dirt-packed, barely wide enough for a person. And at the very bottom, I saw a shape. Hunched, hairless, pale. It didn't move, but I knew it was breathing. Behind me, I heard the door slam shut. When I turned, Mr. Keen was standing in the corner. He looked thinner than I remembered. Sunken eyes, gray lips. "She doesn't like being alone," he whispered. I didn't wait. I shoved past him, ran back downstairs, grabbed my keys, and started throwing my things into bags. Within 20 minutes, I was gone. I filed a police report, but by the time they got there, the house was empty. The hatch filled with cement, No sign of Mr. Keene. No record of anyone named Keene ever owning the house. I left the city after that. But here's what keeps me up now, years later. Sometimes in my new apartment, I wake to tapping. Just faint, like knuckles against concrete. Beneath my bed. And once, only once, I found a note by the fridge. It just said, "You're next." Story 2. I should have trusted my gut the moment I signed that lease. The place was too perfect. Top floor unit in a 4-story walk-up. Big windows, great light, dirt cheap rent, and quiet, almost unnervingly so. When I moved in, the property manager handed me the keys with this weird half smile and said, "You're the first tenant in a while to stay more than one night." I laughed it off. He didn't. I figured he was just trying to rattle the new guy. Or maybe he'd had bad luck with flaky tenants. Either way, I was in. I'd just gotten a new job, needed a clean start, and this little place on Bramble Lane seemed like the reset I'd been waiting for. The first night was peaceful. The quiet was almost overwhelming. No traffic, no neighbors stamping upstairs, just a faint humming from the refrigerator and the occasional creak from the walls. Old buildings breathe, right? That's what I told myself, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The bedroom window faced the adjacent building across a narrow alley. I kept the blinds closed, but I always felt like there was someone on the other side, staring back through their own window. I looked once. The window across from mine was blacked out. Not curtained, blacked out, as if someone had painted over the glass. That made me uncomfortable, but not enough to leave. By the third night, I started waking up at 3:11 a.m. exactly. The first time, I chalked it up to my body adjusting to a new routine. The second time, I felt disoriented. Dreams half-faded, skin cold with sweat. I couldn't remember what had woken me. There wasn't a sound, no bad dream, just a feeling. By the fifth night, it became a pattern. Always at 3:11, always with a jolt, wide awake, pulse pounding, and always with the sense that someone was in the room. Just outside my vision. The paranoia crept in slowly. I'd start triple-checking the locks before bed, closing the blinds tighter. I even stacked a chair under the front doorknob, just in case. One night, I installed a free, motion-activated app on my phone. It used the front camera to record if anything moved while I was asleep. That night, like always, I woke up at 3:11, cold, alert. Nothing seemed out of place. The door was locked, the window closed. But when I checked the footage in the morning, my stomach dropped. There was movement. From 3:10 to 3:13, the app had captured 3 30-second clips. Each one started the same. My bed, still in the dark. Then, in the final seconds of each clip, something shifted in the foreground, almost out of frame. A blur, not a shadow, something more solid, like the outline of a shoulder or the curve of a face. It was as if someone had been crouching beside the bed. But here's the thing, I sleep alone. Always have. I deleted the app. I wanted to believe it was a glitch, some AI bug that misread shadows. But the fear had already burrowed in. I bought a door camera next. Cheap thing off Amazon. Installed it the next morning. It was supposed to notify me if anyone approached my apartment door. 2 nights later, at 3:12 a.m., it pinged me. I sat up instantly, grabbed my phone. There it was, a still image, grainy, black and white. A man standing outside my door, tall, bald, wearing what looked like a hospital gown. His face blurred, like he was moving too fast for the shutter. Or maybe the camera just couldn't process it. But his posture was still, not knocking, not turning the knob, just staring at the door. He was gone by the next frame. I called the police. They came by the next day, took a report, told me they'd patrol the area more frequently. That night, I moved a chair in front of the door again. But the waking didn't stop. 3:11, always. And each time, I'd feel it more strongly, that presence. Not visible, not audible, but thick, like fog in my lungs. I started leaving lights on, TV running, sometimes music. Didn't matter. The silence always returned. The minute the clock struck 3:11. By the second week, I noticed something even stranger. My belongings started moving, subtly. Things I'd never misplace. My toothbrush appeared on the kitchen counter. Twice, my phone charger, usually on my nightstand, ended up under the couch. And one morning, I found my closet door wide open. It had been shut the night before. I never leave it open. I took time off work. I thought maybe I was just unraveling. Lack of sleep, stress, isolation. But then I checked my building's online reviews, trying to distract myself. That's when I found the post. Do not move into Unit 402. That was me. The post was 6 months old. The user's account had only one comment. It read, "Lived there for a week. Something watches you while you sleep. Door would be locked, but I'd wake up with bruises. Management won't say anything. They know." I immediately searched for more info. Even asked the property manager directly. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're the first tenant in a while who hasn't broken their lease." That's when I knew he was lying. I started packing that night. I didn't care about the deposit. I didn't care about where I'd go. I just wanted out. But before I could finish, the power went out. Not the whole building, just my unit. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and headed for the breaker box in the hallway. As I opened my front door, I paused. The hallway was dark, too dark. The motion lights hadn't turned on. I took one cautious step forward and stepped in something wet. My flashlight beam trembled as I aimed it down. A trail of footprints, bare, human, leading from my door to the stairwell. They weren't mine, and they were fresh, still glistening. I ran back inside, slammed the door, barricaded it with my dresser. Then I sat on the floor, back against the closet, trying to steady my breathing. That's when I heard it. Not outside, not down the hall, inside the closet, breathing. faint, but unmistakably close. I leapt up, backed away, heart slamming in my chest. The closet door didn't move. It didn't open, but the breathing got louder, more ragged. I grabbed a kitchen knife and stood across the room, waiting until the first light of dawn cracked through the blinds. Then it stopped. Just stopped. I didn't even bother calling anyone. I grabbed my essentials, left the rest behind, and checked into a hotel across the city. That afternoon, I went back to retrieve a few more things. The apartment was quiet. Nothing seemed disturbed. But in the bedroom, on the inside of the closet door, someone had carved something. 2 words, "Found you." I filed a police report. Again, they found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no fingerprints, nothing on the security cams. Management claimed they couldn't access older footage. I moved 3 times in the next year. Changed jobs, numbers, states. But here's the part I haven't told anyone until now. A month ago, I started waking up at 3:11 again. Different apartment. Different city. Same feeling. Then, last week, I found something taped to the inside of my new closet door. No note, no message, just a still photo, printed from an old motion cam. Me, asleep in my bed, and standing beside me, face blurred, head tilted, was the same man from the door camera. I burned the photo, changed locks again, but deep down, I know it doesn't matter. I don't think he ever left that first apartment. I think he followed me, and I think one night soon, maybe when I'm just too tired to wake up, he'll step out of the closet again. Story 3. I used to believe paranoia was just anxiety misfiring in the brain. A defense mechanism gone haywire. Senseless fear. But that was before last winter, before I found the yellow folder. I work in IT security for a small finance firm in Cincinnati. Most of the job is routine. Network checks, VPN policies, patching software, keeping people from clicking phishing links. Boring, really. It was late December, a week before Christmas, when I was doing an overnight scan on our internal servers. We've been getting weird activity logs, non-critical anomalies, stuff like multiple failed logins from internal IPs, unscheduled activity at odd hours. Nothing serious, just weird. So I decided to pull an all-nighter and run the audit manually. Around 2:40 a.m., while combing through the shared archive drive, I noticed a folder I didn't recognize. No label, just yellow, plain, unassuming, but sitting in a restricted access section of the archive. That area was only supposed to hold encrypted financial logs, not untagged folders. Curious, I opened it. Inside were 147 video files, all titled by timestamp. No descriptions, no metadata. The first one was just a still hallway, no movement. Then I clicked the second. More hallway. But the angle changed, like it was filmed from a different ceiling corner. By the 5th video, I realized what I was looking at. Internal surveillance. But not from our office. These were residential cameras, bedrooms, living rooms. One clip showed a family at dinner. Another, someone sleeping in bed. Another, an old man shaving in the mirror, unaware of the blinking red light in the corner of the room. I froze. These were not public streams. These were illegally accessed home surveillance feeds, live ones. My stomach dropped. I opened the most recent video. It was time-stamped, less than 5 minutes ago. It showed a dark room, illuminated only by a digital clock glowing 2:36 a.m. A figure lay in bed, motionless. Then the person turned slightly, and my chest caved in. It was me. I was looking at my bedroom. The angle was from above, like a camera installed in the corner of my ceiling. I stared at the feed for nearly a full minute, unable to breathe. My heart was hammering so loud, I thought the speakers were on. Then I watched myself sit up in bed. In the video, not in real life. I wasn't moving, but the person in the video sat up, slowly, head tilted, then stared directly at the camera. I swam the laptop shut and stumbled back. When I ran home that night, I searched every inch of my ceiling, my walls, even the smoke detector. Nothing. No camera, no wires, no sign of intrusion. But I couldn't sleep. That night, I kept every light on. I sat in the corner of the room with a baseball bat and my phone flashlight, just waiting for something to move. Nothing did. By sunrise, I was barely functioning. I called out sick, went back to the office, and tried to find that yellow folder again. It was gone. Wiped clean. No access logs. No trace in the backup directory. When I asked my supervisor, she gave me this look, like I'd just confessed to a felony. "There's no surveillance system like that in our network," she said flatly. "And if there was, you'd already be in jail for accessing it." She was angry, but also nervous, like I'd seen something I wasn't supposed to. From then on, things spiraled. At first, it was little things. I'd hear faint clicking in my apartment at night, like a hard drive spinning up. My laptop webcam light flickered once, then never again, even though I covered it with tape. Then the door. I live alone. Always lock it. But 3 mornings in a row, I woke up to find the deadbolt undone. Not the chain, not the knob, the bolt. The one I always check before bed. I changed the lock, installed a camera facing the door. Nothing. The next day, I woke to find the footage wiped clean between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. I brought it to the police. They said it was probably a glitch. Told me to stay with someone if I felt unsafe. So I did. I went to my brother's house across town. Told him I just needed a few days away. He didn't ask questions. Just gave me the guest room. That night, I felt safe enough to sleep. Until 2:36 a.m. I woke up gasping. That same cold terror lodged in my chest. The guest room door was open. I had locked it. I got up, crept to the hallway, and listened. There was someone moving downstairs. Not my brother. He's a heavy sleeper. But this was slow, methodical, almost like pacing. I held my breath and peeked over the railing. Nothing, no one. But on the floor below, sitting neatly on the welcome mat, was a yellow folder. I nearly fell down the stairs racing to grab it. Inside were 6 printed photos. 5 of them were screenshots, frozen frames from those illegal surveillance videos. All of them were of me, in my apartment, sleeping, eating, working, brushing my teeth, all from high angles, all recent. The 6th photo was different. It was from behind. Someone had taken a picture of me in real life, from about 3 feet away, as I sat at my desk. I was leaning forward, head tilted. My hands were visible on the keyboard. But in the photo, I had no hands, just a smear, a blur where my fingers should have been. I burned the folder. Went back to the cops. Again, nothing. No prints, no footage, no leads. They told me someone was messing with me, but unless I caught them in the act, they couldn't help. I went home, started keeping a knife under my pillow, barely slept. And that's when the emails started. Anonymous, no subject, no body, just attachments. Each email had a short video, sometimes seconds, sometimes minutes, all clips of people sitting at computers, always unaware, always filmed from behind. I stopped opening them, but they kept coming. 1 a day, then 2, then 5, until one night I got a new one. The subject line just said, "Live feed." I didn't want to open it. I knew I shouldn't open it, but I did. It was my apartment, current time, my desk, my chair, empty. Then the camera slowly panned and turned toward the hallway, to the bedroom, to the exact spot where I was watching the video from. And just before the feed cut out, a figure stepped into frame. Tall, black hoodie, no face. Or maybe just a blur where the face should have been. It raised a hand and waved at me. I slammed the laptop shut and screamed. But when I looked up, no one was there. No sign of a break-in, no shadow, no sound, just silence. It's been 3 months. I changed cities again, disconnected every smart device. No internet, no cameras, no social media, and still the emails come. No senders, no way to trace them. Just short, silent videos of me. Always at 2:36 a.m. I've stopped trying to fight it. I sleep with the lights on, my back to the wall, always dressed, just in case. Because I know now, this isn't just some hacker. It isn't just paranoia. Someone or something is watching, and maybe it always has.